please tell me, how can I begin to cultivate a more beautiful state when, my dog is throwing up and the baby's crying and I just learned that my transmission's broke and, like the absolutely really normal everyday things for all of us show up? What would you say to them who are like, this sounds really good, but how do I even begin to start?
Let us make a clear distinction between challenges that we face in life and suffering. Challenges or the pressure is experienced by any species, the plant species, the animal species, human species. We all experience challenges in our life. Pressure is always there.
Yes.
But suffering is something very different from the challenges. We differentiate a suffering from the challenges that we face. Suffering is the inner dialogue that we carry within ourselves. This continuation of the external challenge internally, it's very limited only to the human species. And this inner dialogue, this continuation of the challenge internally, that we call as suffering. And this suffering, unfortunately, separates us. It disconnects us from people. It disconnects us from life. It disconnects us from everything around, everything that's beautiful around you. And this is suffering. Do we need to suffer in order to find solution to the challenge that we're currently facing? No.
No. We're just habituated to it.
Yes, we are used to it. And more so often we are like, it becomes a home after a point of time.
Yes, very comfortable and familiar.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are used to living in states of anger. People are used to living in states of anxiety. Even when there is no need, you wake up with this anxiety in your stomach. Or you're not able to get to bed or sleep properly because there's so much of anxiety that you're filled with, because you are used to it and you're constantly fueling these states, which has become your home.
Yes. So what can we start to do to pull that string? I mean, obviously awareness, I believe, is one of the beginnings.
It is extremely important that we bring attention to our inner state.
Yes.
And what we teach the participants, our students, is we teach them wisdom. We give them the right wisdom that is needed to see what is the state in which they are coming from, and also bring attention to the emotions that they are feeling and see how they are obsessed about a past event or a future event, and see how disconnected and engrossed they are with themselves. Which I think you need to add.
Yes, if we look at suffering, and if we bring attention to a thought process, you'll understand that while you're suffering, you're constantly obsessed about yourself.
Yes.
You have moved away from challenges, you're moved away from problems, but you're just obsessing about yourself. For example, you got fired. The problem is you need to find another job. But instead you suffer because now you think, what's going to happen to my mortgage payment? What am I going to go back home and tell my parents or tell my wife? What are my friends going to think about me? Or someone who was less efficient than me got promoted. There was politics. I was sabotaged. So all these thoughts are about you. You have completely moved away from the problem to yourself. And when that happens, you are in suffering. So if we can bring attention to the thought process, then you will free yourself from suffering. And you will start to connect to the problem, and there'll be intelligence that flows. Today, science clearly says that the more you suffer, the brain actually shrinks in size. And the more you feel connected, the brain actually expands in size, which means you're becoming either less intelligent and less connected, or you're becoming more intelligent and more connected.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm just going to track for everyone listening, one of the first things we can do is just simply bring awareness to our thoughts, bring awareness to that thought process, and to be able to be aware that if we're suffering, there's a really high likelihood that our thoughts are self-obsessed, I-based.
Yes. There is this data today which shows that we think around 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, out of which 85% of them are negative thoughts. 85% of them are repetitive thoughts, and out of which 80% of them are negative thoughts.
That negativity bias in our mind, right? Which is built-in ancient circuitry that was designed to help us survive, but in modern times, not so wonderful for a beautiful state. Yes.
So if there is suffering, and it's an insight from Krishnaji, if there is suffering, that means you are engrossed with yourself. If you're not engrossed with yourself, if you are connected, then there is no suffering.